electro-funk, R&B, and the beginning of dance music. This show digs in where it all started. The roots of hip-hop, breakdance, electric music, rhythm radio, the rolling 808, freestyle dance. You're listening to the Old School Rewind with Randy Bubba Black on the Podcaster Online Network.
Today up on the Old School Rewind, it's Cozmo D from Newcleus.
Say a one for the trouble, two for the time. Come on, y'all, let's
Bubba Black here, the Old School Rewind podcast produced every week. The show notes are found at oldschoolrewind.com. Feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. Please come back often. You can also follow me on Facebook at Old School Rewind. All the links are in the show notes. Let's get into it. Oh, don't tell me up in the house, digga-danga, doop-danga, you ever had an intro like that, man?
No, that's the first.
Hey, everybody, it's Cozmo D from Newcleus. Wigga-danga, wigga-danga, wigga-danga. I could do that all night long, and I bet you guys did when you were putting together that song Jam on It.
Not all night long, but yeah, we have fun.
How about at least around the studio like I was just doing?
No.
Well, come on, man, come on. So, one of the best hip-hop marriages ever. I gotta say, almost like a big family out there. So you and Lady E and then Chili B and Nikki D were also a thing. And y'all shared a house. Let's start right at the beginning.
I started out as a DJ in the 70s. You know, and we used to rock the parks and all that. Our DJ crew was Jam On Productions. One of the guys in our crew said, why don't you do a rap record? You know, and at the time, I wasn't feeling the rap records that were out there, you know, because, you know, we came from the streets.
What year?
This was like 81. He said, well, why don't you do a rap record? You know, and we didn't like the rap records that were out there. You know, as a matter of fact, what year was the Message? It was 82 then. It was 82 because the Message was out. We're used to battling in the parks, you know, so the rap that we were into was more battle rhymes.
Was there some people that are famous now or that got famous that you would battle back in the day there at the parks?
Houdini. Yeah, we battled against them. They were with a crew called Mike Brown, and we battled against them in a project center one night. They were MCs, you know, and I was a DJ. So I wasn't really checking to see what their MCs were doing.
And how did, what is it, Grandmaster D?
No, he wasn't with them yet. They weren't Houdini yet. They were a couple of kids.
So they used to even pre-Houdini. Okay, roll.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah, this was the night in, it was either 1977 or 78.
The music seems to be technological, and you're talking about starting in the parks. How did you get into the studio? Where'd the money come from to start doing the music? What do you call... I call it electro-funk, or I call it, I don't really know what I would term it. What do you term it? It being your genre. What did you term, or looking back, what do you call it? There wasn't a name for it then, it was hip-hop.
It wasn't called hip-hop back then either.
Right, that's what it was a whole culture. We didn't know anything about that.
No, it was funk to me. It was always funk, you know, and...
It was Z-funk for you.
And now that I look back, you know, from the Brits are the ones who named it electro and electro funk. And, you know, when I think about it, my process is still a funk band, but I use electronic instruments to make my funk. So electro funk works perfectly. When I started playing, they didn't have MIDI yet. So, no, I had to get myself a book on theory and learn how to play so at least my music made sense.
Tell me about Positive Messenger.
Positive Messenger, when I first started doing music, you know, I've been a spiritual person since 18. you know, when music started coming together and the way it was coming together, I looked at it as a blessing, you know, something from God. So, you know, I wanted to give back, you know, so we had a purpose to our music. We weren't just going to be making music to make music. So when the four of us got together, you know, it was for a purpose. And I wanted to call the group Messenger, you know, Meszenger. I always like to throw a Z in there somewhere.
So it ain't nothing but a Z thing, is what you're telling me, Cozmo, with you.
Yeah, I've always been intrigued by Z's for some reason. I wanted to do Messenger, and Bob said, you know, why Messenger? I said, this is everything we do to be positive. He said, why not positive? So I said, okay, let's split the difference, and we decided to call ourselves Positive Messenger.
As Positive Messenger, what do you guys do?
Well, as Positive Messenger, we did music, you know, but it was all music with a message to it.
I've heard why you're Newcleus. Explain to the people listening to the Old School Rewind why you're called Newcleus.
Well, as Positive Messenger, all of our stuff was supposed to be spiritual. But like I was saying, one of the DJs in our crew asked us to do a rap record. So, you know, I made an anti-rap record because I didn't like the rap records that was out there, and I called it Jam On's Revenge. And it was about the Jam On production crew ridding an old western town of whack rappers, you know, and telling them they had to get out by sundown.
Oh no, it's Cozmo!
That's right, pilgrims. Me and the Jam On production crew here are taking over this town. So all of you ding-dangers, just pack up your hips and your hops, get on your high horses, and vamoose.
Man, your vision. Where'd the space stuff come from?
The space stuff was just space stuff. I don't know, I was always into sci-fi, but, you know, the original Jam On's Revenge was not sci-fi. It was a Western theme. You know, and the Munchkin voices, yeah, that's definitely George Clinton.
Is that what you call them, Munchkin voices?
Yeah, that's what we call Munchkins.
Who was the voice of the Munchkins?
We're tired of all that hip-hop stuff, so we're gonna rock the ground with the funky sound.
I was.
Yeah, so you guys do this. Wikki, 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 wikki. Wikki, 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 wikki. Wikki, 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 wikki. Wikki, 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 wikki. Well, check this.
When we started doing the albums, it was me and Chili B, but I made the original Jam On's Revenge by myself.
Jam it on, jam on. Of course we can't get enough. Jam it on, jam on. Dig it, don't stop. I still say they can't do this. Wikki, wikki, wikki.
And that's back in the day now when you had to have a great voice to be a rapper. And as I was listening, it sounds like you had your thing and then Chili B was sort of a little bit more of a polished MC. Would that be fair?
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Chili B, and I'm a surefire, full-blooded, bonafide, hot-fucking Jam On production MC.
No, that's not fair. Neither of us were MCs. We were both DJs. We were not MCs. Nothing polished about us. That was the first time he had ever rapped in his life. As a matter of fact, he couldn't even come up with the rhymes. I wrote the rhymes for him for Jam On.
It's so mind-blowing to hear. You could talk about this forever, the aspects of Newcleus. You all lived in the same house, right?
It was my mother's house.
And you all were married.
Yes.
What year does Newcleus start?
Well, we recorded Jam On's Revenge in 82 for Joe Webb. And in 83, when they wanted to put it out, you know, I decided, look, you know, because I had no intention of putting Jam On's Revenge out. But I had put it on a tape, fill up gap on the tape, and it turns out that was the record that Joe Webb liked the most. You know, what I was shopping was Computer Age. But he wanted Jam On's Revenge. So I said, if we're going to do that, then, you know, our mission, you know, our spiritual mission doesn't match. So we won't do it as Positive Messenger. So I came up with the idea of Newcleus because we're the nucleus of three different families. It was me and Monique, Nikki D. We're first cousins. We grew up like brother and sister. And then she's married to Bob. So it's our family, Bob's family, and I'm married to Yvette and Yvette's family. So it's three families coming together in the nucleus. And that's where we came up with the name Newcleus.
I realized that Push the Button is your first single you're shopping, and I don't know who Joe Webb is. Explain to me all of that.
When I first started doing music, and I'm doing music tape to tape, this is before I got married and before I'm working with Chili B. I was putting together stuff, and I tried to do a rap record with the Jam On crew. And our business name, because we were a registered business, was Freak City Disco. So we did a record called Freak City Rapping. But at that time, I had no equipment. So I was recording stuff on cassette deck, and then I would overdub to another cassette deck and then back and forth until I had the finished track. So what you end up with is one cassette with a whole bunch of noise and very bad audibility, and you don't have a copy of it. That's all you have. So I went shopping it. Every record company, I looked up all the record companies, you know, that were putting out rap records at the time, and I went shopping to all of them, and they all wanted me to leave the tape. They said they can't listen to it with me. They wanted me to leave it. But all I had was this one tape. Finally, the last place I stopped was a place called Reflection Records, who had put out this record called Raptivity.
From California to New York City, I'm the one who's gonna have Raptivity, the almost impossible super collide. So MC Disco B.
And I go in there, and there's this cat named Joe Webb. And it's in a one-stop, a record distributor, a small record distributor, but it's an office in there. And I go in there, and he says, no, he'll listen to it. He's the only guy that would listen to it. I ain't listened to it. He gave me some constructive criticism. I know now, because I know him, that he didn't know what the fuck he was listening to anyway. But, you know, he gave me constructive criticism, and I respected that, you know, and I was glad for that because nobody else would listen. So I don't know if it was the next year, but later on, I borrowed money from Nikki D, from Monique, to buy a Porter Studio. That's a 4-track cassette, you know, multi-track cassette recorder with a little board attached to it, so I could start making better sounding recordings, you know, better sounding overdubs. And she said, sure, but do me this favor. If I do that, will you start working with Chili B, with Bob? And I said, sure, because Bob and I had been in a band called Thunderfunk in the 70s together, where he was the bass player and I was the singer. So I said, okay, cool. So we got the Porter Studio, and Bob and I started working together. And that's how we came up with Positive Messenger then, because that was the amalgamation between the two of us, plus Yvette and Neek on vocals. You know, we do the Positive Messenger stuff, and then we got some great songs. I'm Not a Robot.
They don't ever take time out to see is they can be whatever they want to be.
Auto Man.
I'm a little man, I'm a little wires. I'm a little man.
Computer Age. And it was when I did Computer Age, as I was doing that and finishing up, Planet Rock hit. And Planet Rock was a smash. So I'm listening to that, and I'm listening to Computer Age, and I said, well, if Planet Rock is a smash, I know Computer Age will kill it. So I figured I'm going right to Tommy Boy Records. So I put together a cassette, and I had room on the second side. So I put Jam On's Revenge, which I had done separately, but I figured I'd just fill up the room. I had been DJing since '76, so that goes into it. I know what moves a crowd. I knew what I loved, you know, and that's what I was trying to put into my music. But I had no equipment then, so it's not like we had a whole lot that we could do.
So how do you get a deal on Sunnyview?
I figured, okay, I'm taking this right to Tommy Boy. But on my way out, I figured, but first, let me give Joe Webb the first crack at it, you know, because he had done me that kindness, you know, the year earlier. So I go to the place where his office is, but his office, he's not there anymore. So then I went to a phone booth. You remember those things, phone booths?
Yeah, I used to change into Superman in those things, man. I think in Jam On It, he might have used a phone booth, maybe. I don't know.
In the phone booth, they actually had a phone book. So I opened up the phone book, and sure enough, there's Joe Webb. So I called him, and he remembered me. So he said, come on down and let me check it. So I go there, you know, and it's not even an office. It's his crib in the projects. So I go there, and I play him the tape, and he's loving it. He's loving everything he's hearing, loving it, loving it, loving it. He gets to the last song, and he loses his mind. He's saying, that's it, that's it. And I'm like telling him, yo, you know, I just put that on there, you know, to fill up space. I just made it as a joke. I wasn't serious about it. I had no plans to put it out.
He was thinking fill up your pocket space.
Yeah, he told me, I'll make you $500,000 in a year. And, you know, I'm what, 22 years old? You know, of course, that's going to, you know, spirituality will have to wait for now. And that's how we ended up, you know, and never did get the Tommy Boy. That's how we ended up on his label. He put it out. You know, we recorded it in 82, but it didn't get released until 1983. And he put it out on his label, Mayhew Records. And Jonathan Farron, who was a DJ on WBLS, he started playing it. And he had a mix show. He would play it in the mix show. Next thing I know, the record's blowing up. So then that's when Joe Webb went and he got a deal with Sunnyview and put us over there. But let me tell you about Jam On's Revenge, the Western theme. Joe Webb told us when we went in the studio to record it, that we can't do John Wayne. John Wayne is an American hero. That's what he told me, which is some bullshit.
Hadn't that rap been out? Hadn't the ball?
Yeah, probably. I wish I had thought about it. But he told me that shit, and you know, he's the man in the music industry. I didn't know nothing, so I said, okay, we'll make it an outer space thing, which ridden the earth of whack rappers, and that's how we ended up being From Outer Space. So I've been from outer space ever since.
You're still married too?
Yeah, I got married in 1981. So the record comes out, it blows up. Now, remember, the record I shot was Computer Age. So they said, oh, we'll put this one out, but Computer Age will be next. The record blows up. Now, next thing you know, Sunnyview comes at us. They want a rap record. I try to explain to them, it's not a rap record, though. It's an anti-rap record. We make fun of rappers in the record. Oh, no, we want a rap record. So I said, fuck it. I went home, came up with a beat, took me about 45 minutes for a dope-ass track, grab out my old rhyme book from the 70s, filled up the track with my rhymes, and came up with the hook, and then needed something for Chili B so he could throw a verse on there. I gave him a couple of weeks. He couldn't come up with nothing, so I wrote that for him. You know, some of it is old, some of it was new. And, of course, I named the record Jam On It because it was about Jam On Productions. So, you know, if you want something right, you got to jam on it. You know, in other words, let Jam On do it. So that's how it all came out. The record blew up the minute it dropped. The minute it dropped, there was no stopping it.
Three words of the wax, still back, getting down and then giving no slack like a buddy king with the sack of Big Macs, with throwing down and with the rockables ass on time. In your mind, you see, you gotta book it to your best ability. You gotta funk it up until it knocks you down, and when you're bumping up, make sure you pass it around. Come on, let's go to work. We got what'll make your body jerk. Make you throw your hands up in the air, shake your booty and scream, oh yeah, 'cause we are the Jam On crew, and jamming on it is how we do the do. We'll funk you up until you book it down, so come on people, check out the sound.
How did you know you had made it?
What do you mean by made it?
I'm not going to dig in your wallet or whatnot, but, you know, I mean, did things not ever get good? Were you in one of those deals?
Yes, things never got good. I knew just from the track that Jam On It was going to be huge. I didn't expect it to be what it is now, an iconic record, but I knew it was going to be a big record. I knew it was going to be bigger than Jam On's Revenge for sure. And those rhymes that I threw in from the 70s were all battle tested. So, You know, especially the Superman rhyme. You know, I guarantee you the thousands of people in Bed-Stuy when they heard that on the radio were chanting along to it because I used to say it every jam. But no, we got royally ripped off. Joe Webb kept all the money.
Got the standard record contract. You got to pay everything back. They'll front you the money, that whatnot.
No, he stole the fucking money.
Ganked you for your cash.
That's right. He kept telling us we were in the red. We told us we were in the red and up until the second album was about to drop. And I'm sitting in Sunnyview up at Roulette, and I'm talking to Adam Levy, who was Morris Levy's son, and he was the guy that had promoted for us. And I'm sitting there talking to him. I said, yo, Adam, when are we going to get out of the red, man? We've been in the red now. It's 2 years. He said, Red, what are you talking about? He said, we just cut Joe Webb a check for $250,000 just a couple of weeks ago. And that was the end of Newcleus.
$250,000.
That was just one check. He got many.
Do you get money at all now from it, or does Joe Webb still get it?
Oh, I got the masters now.
Tell me that story. How does that go about?
We won't get into that.
I asked you about rapping. Do you dislike rap?
No, I rap.
You're a DJ that MCs.
No, I do not MC. There's a difference between an MC and a rapper.
School me, cuz. School me.
You got to remember, I'm from the 70s when this shit originated. Now, everybody would get on the mic and say a little something. Even little kids get on the mic. But an MC is somebody who would be on the mic and rock it all night. That's an MC. They can rap off the dome and rock it all night. And that's what we used to have back then. Now, I was a DJ, you know, but I had my rhymes that I wrote up. So every now and then I'd pick up the mic and I'd say a little something. The crowd would get busy and all that. Then I'd pass the mic to somebody else because I only had but so many rhymes. But an MC is somebody who can rap off the dome, rap all night long. He's a master of ceremonies. He go all night.
A rapper's in the cypher. One of the guys in the cypher.
They didn't have ciphers.
In the group, handing the mic around.
Yeah, I would gather that the guys in the cipher would be MCs. You know, that's not my realm.
Well, no, they'd be rappers, wouldn't they?
Anybody who raps on a record is a rapper. Anybody. That doesn't make them an MC.
What's your favorite rap record, cuz?
My favorite rap record. Wow. You know, nobody's ever asked me that.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
That's number one question right there. Shit. You're right. I couldn't. I would have to cut it down into years and types, and it would be hard to break down. Is there one that sticks out? Is there three?
Eric B. is president.
Right.
That jumps out.
I came in the door, I said it before. I never let the mic magnetize me no more, but it's biting me, fighting me, inviting me to rhyme. I can't hold it back. I'm looking for
Bonita Applebaum.
Tribe.
Yep.
Man, that's classic. What's your favorite electronic group?
You asking me all these questions.
Come on, man. Was it Kraftwerk? You had to feel it. You felt it somewhere.
My favorite electronic artist of all time.
Is it Arthur Baker's work? You know, who is it?
Giorgio Moroder, most likely. I found Kraftwerk to be boring until they finally made the Computer World album. And then I said, okay, now they're doing something. I found that their sound was ingenious, but their music was boring. You know, dum 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 on the autobahns.
1, 2.
Yeah, no. Numbers was dope.
How about Tour de France?
Tour de France was dope.
Okay, I don't even rock the Autobahn, man. I just rock those two, man.
That's what I'm talking about. From Computer World album onward, then they got funky. But before that, they were boring. That's what I'm saying. Metal on Metal had a great sound, but, 3 minutes, okay, let's move on to something else.
What's the drum machine you guys used? Was that an 808?
On the first album, it was the 808. Except we also used the DMX. We used the DMX on a couple of tunes. On Destination Earth and No More Running was a DMX. But otherwise, it's 808.
How'd you learn your 808 skills?
Taught myself.
Have you seen the new documentary on 808 on Amazon Prime?
No, because I ain't in it, so fuck them.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I ain't going to watch it again, so fuck them. How about that? Catch me outside. How about that? Who was the nicest people you toured with?
The nicest people we toured with? We were. And that still goes.
Once you warmed up the room, who was next? Anybody?
Our favorite person to tour with right now is Egyptian Lover. Back then, I guess the coolest on the road would probably have been Houdini.
Friends are what we use every day. Most of the time we use it in the wrong way. Now you can look the word up again and again, but the dictionary doesn't know the meaning of friends. And if
Houdini, of all people. Are they still cool? Do you maintain any contacts with people you talked to or toured around with?
Talking to them all the time. It's still cool. Brooklyn represents for each other.
The DJing's got crazy over the years. The equipment's gotten completely crazy over the years. Have you embraced it, or are you still doing 84 thing?
No. I never look back. I always move forward. I love technology. I progress with the technology.
What do you use now?
Logic Pro.
What do you do? The music you do now, you mess around, and do stuff. What do you do?
I do all kinds of music. We're working on the last Newcleus album now. I do house music. You name it, I do it.
Is there a website to hear some of that stuff for folks that might want to hear it?
JamOnProductions.com.
Got a big old button that says, look here, here's the newest ish.
A big old butt? What?
For people, that might not be too technically inclined. I'm not going to be on this podcast anyway hearing it, so.
Newest stuff isn't out, but if you explore the site, it's easy to find, samples and stuff. And more stuff is getting added all the time.
Tell me now, in the old days, rap shows weren't that good because people were just rapping over the acoustic on the song, and that went on forever. Hip-hop shows sucked for the longest time, I remember, and then at some point, they started doing, tracks without the voice on them so people could go out and do. Are you guys just screaming over the top of the CD and making the mic louder, or do you have an actual mix that you get into where you can, actually still, rapping over the top of a record or not? They don't do that much anymore. I mean, they got a lot of fills and stuff, but they're able now to get in. Is there a way to reproduce and make it instrumental if you're still rapping over the tops of these things? I just often wonder the process.
You talking about then or now? We were the first live hip-hop band, right?
I don't know that.
We played our own instruments. When the promoter is willing to pay, I'll put a band together and go out. Hasn't happened often, but it does. But otherwise, what I go out with is I have all the tracks instrumental on a laptop, and I do a live vocoder, live keyboard, live Wikki Wikki mic. So our show is about as close to a concert as you can get without the actual band being there.
Speaking of, are you out a lot touring around? Is that what you do for money? What do you do for scratch?
The music pays my bills, and we do some shows too.
Jam on It still have a royalty check?
Absolutely.
Nice. Where does the listens come from? It's a worldwide phenomenon. How did you know you weren't just in America and you went worldwide with Jam on It?
I don't know if I knew back then it was around the world, but I assumed it. It was huge. I had Jam On's Revenge. I knew was in Korea because my friend called me from Korea and said he heard the record. So if Jam On Revenge was playing around the world, then I assumed Jam On It was playing around the world.
Did you have a certain amount of satisfaction knowing that?
Sure, I had a lot of pride.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I mean, you're like, shit, yeah, I'm in Korea.
That was great, but, had no money, so.
Couldn't get too happy.
No.
When did you make a deal that started making you smile a little more about it?
Um, 2005.
You do anything locally around where you live?
I go wherever they pay us. We're in Europe next month. No, it's this month now.
What's it like going to other countries now and seeing what joy people get off your music? Now it's the information age. You know exactly where things hit around the world. Is that also a sense of pride there?
Oh, absolutely, man. It's a blessing. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. The love that we get from all over the world. Just on Facebook, that love is amazing to me.
You did the thing with the Dynamic Breakers.
Yeah. Dynamic Breakers were on the Fresh Fest with us, and Joeb signed them. And they originally did another record with this group, Total Control, and the producers fell out with the group and so forth. So Joeb brought us in to do a track for it, and that's how we ended up doing Dynamic Breakers. But those were our boys. Matter of fact, we just did a party with them a couple of months back.
How's it feel to go back where you grow up and feel the love in the old neighborhoods?
Oh, no, that's always felt great. We were home, you know. We had love from the neighborhood before we ever put a record out.
But in 2017, who'd have thunk?
No, nobody would have thunk anything. Absolutely not. It's nothing but a blessing, man. Nothing but a blessing.
So what do you do in your off time here as we've got into 2017? Speaking about modern day, what's Cozmo D up to? I know Chili B passed. Tell me what everybody else is up to.
Neek, she moved down to North Carolina. She's down there. We see each other a couple of times a year. And me and Lady E are just working on music. You know, we're not working on the Newcleus album. That's been our project this year. But we also have a couple of house acts, Dream the Science, Lady E. We do a lot of touring and, you know, releases on doing the house stuff.
Do you do the house to get your Jones off, or is that paying, or both? House has been very good to you. Interesting. When did you start along with house?
Well, the house is almost as big a blessing as the Newcleus is. I started, when we realized Joe was ripping us off, we started doing our own productions and opening our own record companies. You know, and I started doing house in, 86?
So anything from those days that was big, 86, something you may have heard of out here on the West Coast?
No, nothing big here in the States because house never got so big in the States except in Chicago, New York, and Detroit. The rest of the states it didn't get too big. Miami, I guess, a little bit. But overseas, yeah, one record I did for a group named Shalor that I did all the production, all the writing and everything. And that still sells.
How do you spell that?
SHA-LOR. And the name of the record is I'm in Love.
I'm about to go peep that out.
Oh, no, that's a known classic. In England, they call it a Summer of Love classic. And it's been licensed many times and repressed many times. And I have it out again now. Dream the Science, which is another house project that I did. That still sells and it's on repressed and after repress. Push Pull, another house project that I did, that's been repressed and repressed and repressed. So, you know, we get a lot of love in house. Not as much as Newcleus, but close.
You guys took your kids out on tour back then. Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
How old are they now?
Let's see. Justin,
I bet you got a gang of them. You guys been married enough.
No, we only had two.
Oh, okay.
Ours just turned 34. He was the youngest on the road. Jason is, 35 or 36? And Jason is Nikki's and Nikki and Bob's. And Justin, who was the oldest, is Nikki and Bob's. He's got to be, 39? Jason's in New York. BJ's in New York. Justin is in North Carolina, but he's got his own place. Nope. There you go.
So they're mid-30s, not like these little icky mid-20s. Do they think it's whack or do they think you're cool?
Oh, they're grown and they think it's cool. Absolutely. And they know they're going to inherit the business too. So,
are any of them into it?
My youngest, Matthew, he's a DJ extraordinaire. He lives with us.
Where can people find him on the web?
DJ Dog Train.
DJ Dog Train.
DOGTRANE. And he's on Facebook. Plus, you can find info about him on Jam On Productions, too.
What's your favorite food?
Chicken.
What's your favorite kind of music to dance to?
House.
What's the favorite you dance with your girl?
House.
Come on.
I mean, come on. We're in our 50s, man.
You mean in the back of the house?
Uh-uh. If I go out and I'm dancing, it's a major exercise. Keep her happy. She likes to dance. I'm a DJ. DJs don't dance.
All these years later, or even across the last, say, since 2000, have you met anybody famous that you thought, oh, wow, man, I met them because I did Jam on It and they were a fan of my music, someone popular?
I've met famous people, but ones that were fans of my music, no. Well, all the people that I'm thinking are older than me, so...
Do you walk around anonymous, or do people know who you are there where you live?
No, I walk around anonymous.
Do you like that?
Yeah.
Were you always anonymous?
Yep.
There was no video back then. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk to you about quick like. How hard was it to make a video back in those days when videos weren't the easiest thing to do? The technology just wasn't there.
Well, I didn't have any control over that. We did one video and it sucked.
Any girls in there, you know what? No, not enough booty in there, or what?
They didn't do that yet back then.
Yeah, I know. I know, man. I know. I watch TV now. I've been married 30 years, man. I never saw it twerk back in those days. We worked. We had to work it. They didn't twerk it.
Now the video was just quality, and because they did it on video and they didn't do it on film, it didn't get played on MTV. Which probably could have taken things to a whole different level if it did.
But where was your biggest stop back then? Where'd you go and you go, holy shit, look how big we are?
Probably Philadelphia at the Spectrum. That was the largest we ever had. I think it was, 18,000 in the crowd.
Part of Fresh Fest?
Yeah.
Were they all singing along?
Oh, yeah, to an extent, yeah.
Were they all going, hey, they get stuck, you guys stuttering, the jam, homeboy's needle gets stuck, he can't stop?
I don't know.
All right, man. Hey, tell me how people can find you on Facebook. Cozmo D from Newcleus.
Ben Cozmo D, Cozmo D, CNAX. C is in cat, E, N is in Nancy, A, C is in cat.
I'll put that on the notes of the show, too. I appreciate you letting me inside the mind of Cozmo D, the big timer at Newcleus, and Jam on It, one of the biggest songs in the history of hip-hop. I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Take care.
me to introduce myself. Well, my name is Chili B, and I'm a surefire, full-blooded, bonafide, hot rockin' jam on production MC. If you want the best, then put me to the test, and I'm sure you'll soon agree that I got no flaws, cause I'm down by law when it comes to rockin' viciously. You see, cause of when I was a little baby boy, my mama gave me a brand new toy. 2 turntables with a mic, and I learned to rock like a Dolomite. Time went by on this God creation. I knew someday I would rock the nation, so I made up my mind just what to do, and I joined with the Jam on production crew. So go crazy, don't let your body be lazy. I said don't stop the body rock till your eyesight starts to get hazy. Clean out your ears and you open your eye. If you want to hear the music, just come alive. If you don't know how, get ready to learn, cause Cosmo's taking his turn to burn.
Take the C and O in the C, then you add M-O and a freaky D, add a funky beat, and then what do you see? It's Cozmo D, yeah baby, that's me. I got the beat, that's oh so sweet. Without me rocking this incomplete. So rock this yo, rock that yo, rock on and don't you dare stop. You rock this, rock that, and that's a fact. Cause the Jam on crew will rock your body right back. Rock a steam up a motor right off the track, and the whole wide world of funk attack. To the beat, yo, get down. Let me rock it to the rhythm of the funky sound. From hill to hill, from Z to Z, and when Jam on's rocking, everybody screams. Jam on it, jam on and on and on and on it. And if you're feeling like you wanna dance on that, then go on ahead and blow it. Cause jamming on is what we do best. It's what separates us from the rest. And if you don't think our crew's down for real, let me tell you what happened to the man of steel.
Hey, Superman had come to town to see who he could rock. He blew away every crew he faced until he reached our block. His speakers were 3 stories high with woofers made of steel. And when we bought our set outside, he said,
Real. He said I'm faster than a speeding bullet. And when I'm on the set, I don't need no fans to cool my ass. I just use my super breath. I can fly 3 times around the world without missing a beat. I socialize with X-ray eyes and ladies, this is sweet.
and then he turned his power on and the ground began to move. And all the buildings for miles around were swaying to the groove. And just when he had pulled the crowd and swore he won the fight,
We rocked this butt with a 12-inch cut called Disco Kryptonite. My Superman looked up at me. He said, you rock so naturally. I said, now that you've learned the deal, let me tell you why I'm so for real. I'm Cozmo D from outer space. I can do rock the human race. I do it right because I can't do it wrong. That's why the whole world is singing this song.
jam on it.
I jam on it. I say jam on it. As day turns to night and night turns to day, whatever time it is, I want to hear you say
Jam on it.
I jam on it. I say jam on my jam on it. Jam all around and upside down. I keep jamming to the Jam on production sound.
Jam on it.
Jam on it. I said jam on it. I said jam on is the funky beat that takes control with the short sharp boogie that'll rock your soul.
Jam on it.
Jam on it. I said jam on it. Get out of your seat and jam to the beat, and don't you dare stop your early morning.
Jam on it.
Jam on it. Jam on it. Jam on it. Jam on it. Jam on it. Jam on it. Yeah, that's how you do it, Cosmo. You rock it. That's the way you do it. Yeah, like you can see where he went in the corner and he started doing this. Wikki, 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 wikki,
You've been listening to the Old School Rewind with Randy Bubba Black. Share and subscribe now at oldschoolrewind.com.